What would your advice be to a product manager who wants to bring that transition from generalist to specialist? How do I, as a product manager, make a case to you as a product executive? Hey, I need to bring in, and this is a specialized role now. How do I make that case? When do I make that case? How do I make that case? Especially knowing that not everyone would be as open to the idea of a new headcount as you might be.
So maybe we go through just kind of the experience, right? And when that became a thing, right? For us, it was really looking at all of our roadmap across all of the products and portfolios. And we looked at how many initiatives sounded exciting, right? So, if we could do all of those, right? Or if we could get even half of those done this year, right? This would be amazing commercially and also for the customers. But then you go back to, okay, now let's execute on the roadmap. And that's really where we were struggling, right? Because the execution of the roadmap is not going to be as fast as we would like it, right? And I don't know, right? I haven't met other product managers who say, oh, I'm delivering so fast. I used to say it, right? And I knew like it wasn't really that. And I think we ended up making a case around really efficiency, right? So if we wanted to go and really do the right thing for the users, and if we felt like some of our ideas really were going to give us the commercial growth that we were after, then we had to go and test out and find out of the bucket list that we had, which ones were the ones that really had the leg and which one we felt really confident that we needed to double down, for example, on the resources that we might provide. And it was for us really around the execution. So the problem for us, right, and when we started talking was, we have lots of ideas, lots of great ideas on our roadmap, and we would like to go through kind of a discovery, right, which is really what we were championing, not just deliver them, but go through the proper discovery. And there was a good leadership buy-in, and that's also very important, right? That the leadership understands that everything in the roadmap is not a commitment to deliver. It is a commitment for us to go and do a discovery on. There are things we will not spend a lot of time doing discovery on, right? Which is going to go through your BAU motions. These are your low-hanging fruits. Quick turnaround, low investment, somebody's really happy, right? Or you knew this is something you had to fix all along. We're really focused on good initiatives, right? So these are solutions that we're trying to test out, not really feature function at this point, right? So it adds significant enough value that is measurable for us. And those ideas needed to be just go through the whole testing process. And the discovery, you can do research, right? That's the first step. And then you can do the experimentation, then you test again, and then you make a decision. So for us, it was really outlining, if we want to go through the discovery and you have 15, 20, 30 ideas, and you want to go through the discovery, you need somebody who's very skilled, can go and do some of this testing really quickly and bring back the findings, because the product team is also responsible for the existing delivery of the roadmap. And that was really the case to say we need somebody to help us scale and move fast in some of these initiatives.
Understood. So to you, and so I've seen the other, so the case that you're making, that really kind of helps you see the point of view of a product manager needing additional resources is, hey, we want to grow fast. And if we want to grow, or if we have this growth target to hit, we have 15 ideas on how to hit the growth targets. We don't know which of these are going to work. So let's go test out all of these. Let's do some research. And that's the way to do kind of, and that's how I'll be able to convince you. Then there is the other part of this is, hey, we have these 15 initiatives. We are going to spend millions of dollars on all of this. How do we make sure that we are not wasting the money? Is one argument better than the other? Is it better to use one argument over another?
So we do have to go through certain prioritization, even for the research roadmap, right? So I think a lot of the roadmap, in a way, it's a collection of many ideas, but they're in a way stack ranked, right? So we know we feel like this is the biggest one, and then we go all the way down, and then that's what kind of feeds into the research roadmap as well, because we don't test, let's say 15, right? And then make a decision on the which 5 to go, right? So usually we might say, let's test out the biggest bang that we think it is, and then go see if it is as big as we think it is, right? Or what if it is a really big problem, right? And what if we do want to solve it, but we have too many challenges internally in terms of maybe technical infrastructure, the resources needed, the size needed, that it is at the end of the day, the ROI doesn't make sense for us, right? So therefore it's a conscious decision maybe to pick up something else. So I think the research roadmap needs to reflect the priority of the product roadmap as well, right? Around the which for at least for the discovery, right? And then the delivery is where we can get creative, right? Working really closely with our technical partners to say, if we're trying to solve similar type of problems, right, then maybe there is a way that the solution can be designed differently so that we can then solve a lot of problem at once. So that's really kind of the beginning of the process for the research, right, is to reflect the product priority, test out, again, start with the value testing, do your usability testing, do the feasibility, you will get some kind of ROI, quick decision there. And for the stakeholder that are kind of the sponsors of this, right? So a lot of the stakeholders would be the head of business, your head of sales, head of technology, maybe head of data. They're kind of looking to see what we are doing with the roadmap that we proposed, right? So this brings a lot of transparency around what we are learning along the way, why we said a no, because maybe the ROI did not make sense or the customer were not after that problem. After we talked to them, we learned that. So there is, I think, you do the research, that is the thing we do. But I think communicating back on what we learned along the way so that you have a continuous kind of a sponsorship from executive level to have the research function is also important, right? Otherwise, it just becomes a task that somebody does, right? But I think the value that the research team brings is enormous, right? And I think for all along the way, while we're making decision to say, and by the way, this is what we learned from the research that we did, and this is why we're making this decision. Products definitely to champion that process, right? So we become the amplifiers of that voice. And I think it also gives research kind of a place, right, on the table to say they have a specific skill sets and the value that they bring helped us make a certain decision.
Got it. So to kind of bring it back to the question, it's the idea is, the ROI case is more entrenched in the positioning of, hey, we need to figure out how do we hit our growth goals. Here is kind of how we do it. Do you think it's actually a little more harder to make the case of, hey, we're gonna save this company or our organization a ton of money because we're not gonna go down the wrong path? Because even with the best research, you might go down the wrong path. Is that kind of where we're your advice?
Yeah, no. So I haven't done that yet, right? So I say yet because maybe I will at some point. Not yet.
Right.
But what has helped though is that looking at kind of the delivery efficiency of the roadmap, right? So kind of looking at, okay, because the time that we spend, right, not making a decision is a sunk cost, right? So if you look at initiatives that you have that sound great, right, have a great pitch, right, it sounds like something we should immediately jump and work on, they stay in the roadmap and the discovery roadmap for a long time, right? So if you just look at, this was the day that we said we need to do, and have we started working on it? And if you look at some of the portfolios with 20, 30, 40 of those big things, we don't work on it because, like we said, right, we're busy. We don't do the research that we need to do on time, right, because we are pressed with something else that is more urgent. And so it's really, if you think about doing that work over time, when you have time, making a decision maybe around May, then starting to the build and then going to market, you are already at Q3, Q4, you're going to get very small percentage of the revenue, even if your idea was right anyway, right?
Right.
But then if you were to do that much quicker in the beginning, then you have, right, most of your year, at least half the year, right, to realize that revenue. So it was really looking at how many stakeholders, right, you would consult, because some teams, some product teams are very good at this. They know all of the stakeholders they need to engage to get a good feedback, right? They are very upfront with the customers. Some of the companies are not so open, right? So the access to customers sometimes is really difficult, right? So especially with the B2C, or sometimes even with B2B, right? Regulated industries, clients don't want to talk, right? They don't want to give the time. So it is really difficult. And so sometimes waiting to just get access takes weeks, right? And then you schedule a call, it takes another few weeks. Then you finally spoke to two, right? So I think we look at overall, how do you speed up the decision making, right? So you give your teams time frame, right? Say within, if you were to just focus on just these two initiatives, can you come up with a design that was tested, validated, a good engagement with the engineering team to design some kind of a solution, get to the ROI within 30 to 45 days, right? Could we do that? And I think we can, right? Most of the time we can, but I think it's bringing that discipline and the focus and giving the product team the resources that they need to go and make it happen during that time frame.